Okay, so today I'm going to talk about table views. Table views are basically a set of rows that can display some data in your app. For example, I'm just going to run one little simulation here. You'll see, these lines that show up here? They can be filled with text or something, right? That's a table view. So I'm going to show you how to do these, okay, in iOS. The first thing that you're going to create, what I just did here is I've created a single app project, okay? And then on my storyboard I put a table view. I'm going to do this again, so I'm going to take it out of there. When your project starts a simple single view application, you start with the storyboard like this, blank. And then in the objects, here in the objects pane, you'll scroll down until you see the table view. You can drag and place one here. They are perfectly centered, just so we have it centered. Now, this is the table view. That's basically the placeholder for all the elements that I'm going to put in a list. Okay. So I'm going to go to my table view controller, and one of the things that I want to do, is to be able to manipulate this table view in my view controller, right? So I will click on the assistant, and I will Control-click the table view all the way to the interface portion of my .m file, or alternatively go to the interface portion of my .h file if I want it to be exposed to the public. Now, what's the name that I'm going to give to this reference to a table view? I'm going to say, list of things, because that's what it's going to be. Okay. I need to create a property here for a list of things. Now this is the view. Now I need, remember, everything's model view controller. This is the view, is the list with the lines. Now I need a model. So what am I going to put here? Because it's a list of things, the model that makes sense is an array. So I'm going to create an NS array. Of course you can have an object that does this, but for simplicity, I'm going to create a model which is going to be an NS array called, I don't know, names, because it's going to contain people's names, okay? Now, the other thing that I want to do is every time a cell or a row is created in this table view, the object table view calls another object that has very specific methods, okay? So we'll call a method that says, hey, tell me how many rows should I create, and then for each row that you create, please hand me that row. There's an object that handles that, and we're going to override that. That object has to implement or abide by a couple of protocols. Okay, protocols are like interfaces in that they are basically a contract between an object and what it should be able to do, what methods you can call on it. So what I'm going to do is in my view controller, I'm going to have it implement those protocols. And the protocols are UITableView delegate and the UITableView source, data source. Okay, with the angled brackets here, I'm telling it that it's implementing a protocol. I can now close this view, right? That means that my tvtviewController.m is going to implement certain methods that the table view can use. And I'm going to implement those methods. The first method tells the table view how many rows to show. And it has the following signature. And as integer, table view number of rows in section. That's exactly right. This is the number of rows in this section. Tables can have, these tables that I showed can have multiple sections, but that's for a different video. For now, just think of them as having one section where you actually see the rows. And what is going to be the number of rows in this section? Well, create as many rows as there are names, right? So return self.names.count. That is, basically the number of names there are. Right now there's none, right? But there will be later. And then the other method that we want to implement is the UITableView table view. Oh no, UITableView Cell. I'm sorry, cell. Table view cell for row at index path. This is the method, cell for row at index path. Okay, basically this method will return a cell. Okay, so the table view, the component, the object is going to say, hey, give me the cell for row at row 1, give me the cell for row 2, for row 3, and so on and so forth. Okay, the index path is what's going to indicate whether it's row 0, 1, 2, or 3, and we'll see how it does that. So the cell for row at index path, first we need an identifier for a cell. So we're going to create a string ident, and it just needs to be any string. Okay, I'm going to put a cell. You can put anything. It's necessary for returning rows. Then I'm going to create a cell, UITableView cell, my cell. It's going to be, and here's an important thing. The table view that I'm being passed, which is the one, and I'm going to use this method, dequeue reusable cell with identifier, my identifier. What this is doing is that when you have long lists, some cells are cached. So this says, well, if the cell at whatever row you're requesting is cached, then provide that cell. If not, so if the cell is still nil, then we're going to create a new one. That means that nothing's being cached, so I'm going to create a new cell. And I do that by saying UITableView cell, alloc init with style, so we can have a specific look and feel, and it's going to be a UITableView style default, for example. Reuse identifier, so this is for the cache to be able to reuse it. It's going to be my identifier that I created previously. Okay. Now, assuming there are names in my array list, once I've created the cell, I want to put the text that should be there, right? So the text is going to be from the array, the object at index, and what index? So for the first row, I want to put the first name. For the second row, the second name, and so on and so forth. So basically, whatever row you're requesting, that's the index in the array names that I'm going to get. So, and the row is an index path. That index path, this variable, dot row. That is how this is basically the row that's being requested. And because the row match exactly the names that I want to display, I will just do that. Lastly, I will put it in the cell. So I'll say cell text label. So I get the text label within a cell, and then I say set text. And I will put this txt. So, and then at the end, I'll return the cell, right? Whether it was the cached one or whether it was the one that I created with the text of the corresponding element in the array. Okay, these are the two methods that you need. Now, the other problem here is that the table view doesn't know that my view controller can actually provide these methods. Okay, so I need to tell the table view controller, I need to tell my cell that the table view controller can provide those methods. So what I will do is I click on the table view, click on the table view, and then control drag it to this yellow circle here, which is the view controller, and say data source. Basically, table view, your data source methods are contained in the table view controller. Lastly, the array doesn't have anything, so why don't we fill it up? Self.names equals Peter, Paul, and Mary, for example. Okay, just 3 strings, 3 names. And let's play this. So we have the model here. We have the methods that the table view calls. And we have the view on the table view. We'll just see if this works. See? There it is, our list view with Peter, Paul, and Mary, and you can add as many names as you want.